What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? I'm the Godless Engineer, and I critically analyze apologist claims to give you the best arguments and information so that you can stand up and use your voice. But today, we are here interviewing Drew Skaggs. Now, did I say your last name right? Because I feel like I've got to be mispronouncing it or something.
How'd you pronounce it? Skaggs?
Skaggs?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. Now, I'm
Nice
horrible at pronouncing names. Okay, yeah. I'm horrible at pronouncing names, so I'm just like I know that I'm mispronouncing something. But anyway, so we're talking to Drew tonight, and we're just going to be, asking him about his religious background, how he deconstructed, and all that kind of good stuff that we normally talk about. And if you will, please leave your comments in the chat. YouTube right now is having some problems with chat, so I don't know if that's just on my end or on everybody else's end, but please, we will address comments. If you have any comments, any questions for either of us, please do ask them in the side chat there. And I guess we'll just get started off by Drew. Why don't you tell us kind of who you are, what you do, and where people can find you.
Hi, I'm Drew Skaggs. I'm an atheist LGBTQ plus activist. I'm on YouTube, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, all like the major ones, and some of the ones that are just dumb and nobody uses. And yeah, I was a Catholic, raised Catholic growing up, devout Christian, dedicated to my faith, wanted to become an apologist, and dove into my studies to try to become an apologist because I wanted to spread God's light, love, and message throughout the whole world if I could. And when I was in high school, I took an apologetics class, and I figured out I am not equipped for this task. I don't know anything about any of this stuff. So I dove into my studies to try to fix that. And this isn't a blanket statement. This isn't how it works for everyone. But for me, the more I dug into it, the more I kind of looked and saw the man behind the curtain. And things just started losing the credibility. The Bible didn't seem like such a nice love letter. And yeah, slowly over the course of about 7 years, I got out. I've been making content here for about 2 years, just doing my thing, just like my bio says, and what John's bio says, just a human with some thoughts trying to make the world a better place. That's about all I got. Nothing too special.
Yeah, I mean, I really empathize with that because that's generally what I try to do too. That's what I try to focus on is making like our community a better place and just trying to be better for everybody. Now, you said that you grew up Catholic. That's interesting. I grew up Catholic too. Well, I'll say Catholic-ish. I mean, like I went to Catholic private school. Now, did you go to a Catholic private school or anything like that?
I did. K through 12th grade. I was at a Catholic private school.
Oh, wow. Yeah. See, I was able to get out like when I was let's see, I went through 4th grade, so I started 5th grade in public school, and so I got out then, which I guess I don't know, maybe lucky me, but yeah. But how was that experience, going through Catholic school, all K through 12 and everything, and wanting to be sort of an apologist and everything?
It just kind of was what it was. Obviously, it's a private school. The curriculum's a little bit harder, and it's Catholic school, so a lot of stuff about obviously Christianity gets mixed in. We have religious classes. We have crucifixes in every room, morning prayer, afternoon prayer, all that stuff. Going to mass, Stations of the Cross, adoration, X, Y, and Z. Just learning about life and our faith. Usually, more often than not, the religious teachings were confined to religion class that we had every year growing up, but every now and then it spilled into some of the other, because all the teachers are Christian for the most part, so they liked to try to integrate it as much as they could. But yeah, it was definitely an interesting experience. I was just thinking about this the other day. We not only are there obviously crucifixes up in every classroom, but then there are teachers here and there who would point out that crucifix and say like, "Oh, you're being mean to your fellow students. Well, look at that crucifix. Look at it. He's bleeding, dying, his sides bleeding and everything. Like, look at how much he suffered for you. And I remember Stations of the Cross we would go to where they would just walk us through. I don't know if you remember Stations of the Cross at all, if you're familiar with it. For those of
Yep.
you who aren't, it's basically more or less walking through the stages of what Jesus went through throughout the whole execution process. And even in like, I think kindergarten, first grade is when they started. Either kindergarten or first grade is when they start. They kind of go into detail. Like we're sitting there in the mass saying the prayers. It's like, and Jesus was getting whipped with the scourges and chunks of, flesh and meat getting ripped off of him. Like there's 6-year-olds in this room. We had, I think it was kindergarten. They gave us little egg cartons with plastic eggs in them. And it was like X amount of days leading up to Easter. You get to open an egg and it's like a nail for how he was nailed to the cross, a thorn to the crown of thorns. So it was a lot of that intermingled within the curriculum. I mean, even my high school, the mission statement of the high school, I can't remember the prettied up language, but it was essentially make good Christians. So that was their drive. And then, of course, religion classes definitely got heavier and more into it and more, you need to do this and avoid this and this is Satan and whatever else. So it was definitely a journey, definitely interesting.
Yeah. So what do you think the effect was on you having, all that violent imagery sort of, placed on you in such a very spiritual and religious kind of aspect? I mean, obviously they're, teaching you about Jesus' sacrifice and everything like that. But I mean, I know that here I'm in North Alabama. So like a lot of people get very emotional, whenever they think of Christ's sacrifice and all that. And I can only imagine what it's like for, a small child to be confronted with that. I'm wondering, I don't know if you remember much of that when you were first exposed to it, but just how did that make you feel?
I don't know if I had too many emotions about it when I first got exposed to it. Definitely growing up, I was devout in my faith. I thought I had like a connection, like a sixth sense to spiritual energies and whatnot, the angelic, demonic energies and whatnot. I thought I had a good relationship with God, would pray to him throughout the day, praying that he would guide my path, make sure all my steps were aligning with his will. And I thought that I would be getting signs and messages throughout the day guiding me. And any negative things or negative thoughts or whatever, I thought were demons. The demon part was really a big part of my life. I would have nightmares about, demons coming to get me, sleep paralysis dreams. So that was always fun, especially as I got older, because I'm pansexual and I've had same-sex attraction for as long as I've had attraction. It doesn't become sexual until, you get older. But even when I was younger, I had crushes on the other boys and whatnot. And growing up, obviously, we were always told, hey, that's bad. It's Adam and Eve, male and female. And they just kind of upped that until like 8th grade. I had a teacher say, if you have same-sex thoughts, that's Satan attacking you, trying to tear you away from God. That's fun. So anytime I have any same-sex attractions for years after that, until I was in my early 20s, even after I was completely fine with homosexuality, I would still have those same-sex attractions and think I'm being attacked by Satan. And I would try to pray the gay away. So the demon attacks that I thought I was under were definitely a thing. The guilt was definitely a thing. Anytime I fell short, it absolutely kicked me down. I wanted to be good. It didn't help that I also had other influences in my life that like couldn't quite be good enough for. I don't get too much into personal abuse outside the church, but I had some of that too. So all of that really built up this character of like, I'm not good enough. I need to do better. I don't deserve, this or that. I have an entire video on my channel talking about how I've never really been afraid of going to hell. I'm afraid of demons, or I was, not anymore. I don't believe in them, but I was afraid of demons, but never of going to hell, which is interesting. I look back and I try to figure out how I compartmentalized things. I don't think I did a very good job at it when I was younger. but it was just, I just thought, I'm not good enough for, X, Y, Z or God or whatever. So I'm just not going to go to heaven. It didn't stop me from trying to be a good person or trying to do God's will, but I just kind of expected, like, I'm worthless and nothing, so I'm just going to go to hell anyway. So like, I just kind of accepted it at a young age that that's just where I'm going to end up. So definitely thinking I'm under attack by demons, and a lot of just guilt and not feeling good enough were definitely huge factors that, again, were at play in other aspects of my life, but the religious aspect definitely didn't help, especially because all day, every day, I was having that monologue with God, trying to be good enough for him.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. Well, I mean, when I was Catholic kid, and even after being Catholic, I still had a lot of those sort of parts of the theology that I brought with me to being a Baptist or non-denominational. But for me, I really didn't focus on like demons or anything, at least in my mind, because in my mind it was like anything bad that happened to me, I thought God was doing that to me. And so it's like I deserved that. So it's a little bit of the same stuff, but also a little bit different there. So I totally empathize with what you're talking about here. Now, you said that you had taken a class on apologetics. What I guess what really compelled you, like as a kid, to want to start trying to defend the faith?
I was just in it. I was just dedicated to it. I thought that my faith and defending my faith, especially because we were taught all about, the fallen, evil outside world. Everything outside of this bubble is just evil and demonic, and would hear about, stuff like Roe v. Wade. They legalized abortion, and that's just terrible. All these babies dying and whatnot. And just, I thought there was like a whole war going on against God, between God and Satan on this earth. And I wanted to give my life to Christ and do whatever I could to help fight that war, to help be a part of that. And it was high school, and it was a required class, but I had already decided to be an apologist. So.
Oh, okay. So it was a required. See, I guess I thought that apologetics 101 would be like an extra course that you could take if you wanted to go in that direction. But that they made you take that?
Yeah. And they made us take a variety, especially in high school. They had church history, Christian morality, faith and reason, which was the apologetics 101. It's like different aspects of basically how you can be a better Christian, how you can learn more about the faith and all this stuff and be better with it.
Interesting. So in the apologetics course, like did they teach you like common apologetics like responses to skeptic like problems, or like what was that course like?
Some common responses. Also, they gave us a whole. It's in my bookshelf somewhere. Peter Kreeft's Pocket Handbook of Christian Apologetics. That was kind of like an extra textbook that we had. I mean, it's a little pamphlet, but we used it essentially as an extra textbook. They taught us about a lot of the logical fallacies and different arguments that you want to avoid, and some of the good arguments. I don't remember. I can't for the life of me remember too many of the arguments. But I remember a lot of it just like how to argue and how to give good arguments and avoid fallacies and stuff like that is what I remember most.
Huh. Okay. Interesting. Because in public school, I pretty much just had either band or the ROTC, was it the junior ROTC, the military paramilitary group that high schools have. I mean, there were other opportunities for other courses, but none of them really spoke to me. And so I guess my next question would be, you had mentioned that in that apologetics class, you really felt like you were under equipped to like do the apologetics. Did that happen during the class? And if it did, like, do you remember what in particular made you or gave you that revelation?
I think just overall in the class going over it, just really showed the knowledge and the skills and basically just the everything that I was lacking that I would need to. I'm thinking if I go up on a debate stage against an atheist who knows what they're talking about, I'm going to lose, and that's not going to look good for God or whatever. So it was just kind of overall. I mean, it really was like it was a wake up call of absolutely nothing about what this entails or what you'll need to bring to that debate stage. So it really did kind of kickstart me because I was still passionate with it, and that carried me for the next I mark that as like the beginning of my deconstruction because that's really when I started diving into it. But even for the next 4-ish years, maybe 5 or so, I was still on that path of trying to become a better Christian, trying to become a better apologist, just trying to mend every area that I could, learning about scripture, church history, arguments for and against Christianity, other religions, their history, scriptures and whatnot, arguments for and against, scientific arguments for and against a God, things like that. It really was a nothing to all kind of drive. It really, really sparked everything into motion.
Okay. So what was that first Christian concept or maybe theological point that kind of you fell by the wayside, but do you know what I'm asking? Like, what was that first central thing that kind of fell for you?
I mostly, because I felt like I had a relationship with this God, and it seemed overall, even though I was constantly terrified of its judgment, like it was a loving, kind, caring, understanding being. So I look more into it, and I look at some of the Catholic doctrine and whatnot, some of the strict things, like even just LGBTQ plus issues, and some of the traditions, more strict to traditions and rules rather than just feeling the love of Christ. And I saw a lot of, there are people in the church. A lot of people are flawed. Nobody's going to do anything perfect. Seeing a lot of flaws with mostly just not seeing the love of Christ, that loving, kind, understanding aspect overall. And especially looking at scripture and looking at what Jesus taught, I was like, I don't know if Catholicism is it. So that first big step for me was from Catholicism to non-denominational Christian, where I basically just had my own flavor of Christianity. And then even after that, continuing to look at scripture, I'm thinking, this God isn't very nice, and this Jesus is that God. So like this can't be it either. And so then I departed from that, and it was just kind of a theist without a religion with this vague idea of a God loosely based off of Christianity that I just kind of invented. And I remember my last, probably year, maybe less, of being a theist, I knew that. I'm just like, Drew, you have no reason to believe this, and you just made up a God based on the Christian God. Like you're pulling this out of nowhere. And even then, it took me a while to be able to let go of that belief. Because like I said, I was kind of on my own in a lot of dark places growing up. Didn't always have someone to go to. But I had this being who was always there, who I could go to, and he could comfort me, even though he didn't do, looking back, obviously, he didn't do anything. So letting that go and letting this God, because I even tried to justify it, I think, in my brain throughout, like, oh, God's trying to tell me that, Catholicism's wrong. And oh, God's trying to tell me that Christianity is wrong. And even when I first started speaking out against religion and theism and stuff, mostly on my personal Facebook page, to my poor defenseless crowd of like 200 something friends, I still believe that this God is my initial start to speaking and promoting atheism was there's not really a good God concept, at least not a good popularized God concept in the world that doesn't kind of start to poison everything. So maybe God's trying to lead me to just end all of that. And I think that was just my brain trying to grapple with my deconstruction. And as I was leaving, trying to like make it okay. And it wasn't until finally, after 7 long years, I made a post on Facebook. It was about the Christmas Story TV series with Tim Allen, where they did the sign thing. The kids held up the sign that said "We love Satan" instead of Santa, and someone made a post on Facebook, and they're like, "They're not even trying to hide it. There's Satan's everywhere." And I remember making a post about that. And my first point was like, first off, Satan's not real. Second off, it was a joke. Like, that's like the whole thing. It was like a whole oh crap moment. The kid spelled something wrong, and like that was the whole bit. We know that Satan is wrong, and that's the point. But then I kind of looked back at me saying Satan's not real, because at this point I didn't believe in the devil or anything. It was my own. I can't even fully explain to you what my theology was at this point. It's just like, there's a nice being out there looking out for me, and like everything else kind of got scraped out. But I looked at that and I was like, I don't know if I can just assert that like Satan's not real. Like, I don't know that. So I'd be like, I could say like he's probably not real. Although nowadays I wouldn't say that either, because you would still need to demonstrate probability. And I just kind of started going down a list, like, he's probably not real, just like the tooth fairy is probably not real, just like Santa Claus probably isn't real. Just comparing that thing to like just how little reason I have to believe in Satan is the same little reason I have to believe in all these other fairy tale things. And at one point I paused and kind of thought for a second. I'm just like God probably isn't real. And I remember that was kind of my last little step, because keep in mind, before this, for months prior, I knew that I had just made this God up. I knew that it was all nonsense, but that belief was still there. And I tried to push it out of my brain as best as I could, but brain doesn't really work that way. I like to tell people sometimes deconstructing is when you have a tick. A tick bites you and you can just yank it out. Sometimes it works, but sometimes its head gets stuck. Sometimes its pinchers get stuck. It can cause more damage and stuff if you rip it out. What you're supposed to do is take a cotton ball and put, I think, nail polish remover on it, and put that on it, and the tick will come out on its own. I learned there that that's how you have to treat deconstruction sometimes. It's like, if you still believe in this stuff, it's fine. Just keep applying that logic and that reason, that thought, and looking at the evidence, and let the belief come out on its own. And that's essentially what I ended up doing. And like a couple days later, I could officially say I was an atheist.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I'm when you talked about how to get a tick out, I thought in a completely Southern way, because like I was taught, by Southerners, by rednecks and hicks. And I think about it, and it's just like, yeah, why don't you just set it on fire? That'll get it out. And like, that's, well, it said, so like essentially, yeah, well, I mean, essentially it was like heat something up and like, you can get it to retract that way. But it's like the nail polish remover sounds so much more safe.
so much safer. And I especially hold on to that because I once had my parents try to rip a tick out of me and its head got stuck. And I had to go to it was middle of the night and they were worried about, Lyme disease or whatever. So they took me to the ER. So I sat there for like 4 hours and the doctor scraped it out in 2 seconds with a scalpel and I was good to go. But like it turned into a whole thing when we could have just used a cotton ball.
Oh, wow. Did the ER doctor tell y'all that? Like, next time use a cotton ball soaked with nail polish remover?
No,
like,
he didn't really have any words for us. I kind of got the sense that we were wasting his time. It was kind of a full ER. I'm looking around. There's a dude over here on a stretcher having severe abdominal pain, dying. There's a kid over here that was in a car accident. He's like getting broken glass out of his scalp and stuff. I'm just like, I'm fine. It's just kind of like stuck in. I'm fine. And it took him like literally 5 seconds with the scalpel. He's like, all right, you're good to go. Like, get out of here.
But yeah, I think that that's a perfect analogy for, deconstruction is like, you just got to ease it out, and everything. And, that kind of describes, the way that I went about it. I mean, I eased myself out of, a belief. And, eventually I got to the point where, I guess similar to you, I just had to admit that, I was an atheist. Now, that part right there was, I think, the hardest part for me. Did you like, were you easily able to adopt that label, or did it take you some time to sort of wrestle with that, with coming to that conclusion?
It definitely took time because, especially even now, I still tell people I would love if there was something else. I don't think I'd like any of the gods that have been put forth thus far, or maybe even a god at all. But I would love there to be something else. And when my belief in God finally went, my belief in everything supernatural kind of went with it. So it was hard, and not to mention, again, this was like my one individual that I thought I had when I had no one growing up, you know? So the realization that like that was just kind of my imaginary friend, it was hard letting go of someone that you cared for and felt a connection for so deeply. Fortunately, at this time, I was already with my wife. I don't think we were married yet. We might have been married. I think we were already married. So I have her now to kind of be my person. Been with her for about 14 years, married almost 6. So I got her
Congrats.
now. Yeah, it's all right. She's all right. um, but yeah, it was definitely hard. And then especially, I live in a largely Christian community, and I was raised Christian, going to Christian schools and whatnot. The vast majority of my friends and family were also raised Christian, and most of them still were. Now, it was nice making my posts speaking out against Christianity and religions and stuff, because I kind of formed a little community, because there were other people that I grew up with who were having these same thoughts and doubts, but they are also surrounded by Christians, so they kind of thought that they were alone there. So it was nice kind of bringing that together, but still got some crap from my family and friends. I lost a friend over disagreements on Christianity, me speaking out against Christianity, him holding on to it. He unfriended me from Facebook, didn't talk to me again. And then unfortunately he passed away a few years later. So that's, I lost someone very dear to me that I'd known since first grade because of it. So it was definitely an entire thing, and just a 180 on your beliefs in general. I grew up devout Christian. I'm now an atheist. I was taught to closet all the LGBTQ plus stuff, and now I'm openly pansexual and non-binary, going from pro-life to pro-choice. It's very jarring and scary, and it's definitely a big mental game, especially because not too long or around the time where I let go of that belief in God, my friend passed away. Another one of my close friends I know basically since birth passed away like 5 months prior, and then my grandpa passed away. So now I have this terrible traumatic time where I have to navigate it without belief in God or supernatural. It really threw the idea of death in my face, which is something that I've always had a lot of anxiety about. Now facing it without the idea of an afterlife. So it was definitely a challenge. I always get upset when there's Christians saying, "Oh, you just became an atheist because you wanted to take the easy way or whatever. You wanted to live life easier." No, the blissful ignorance of Christianity, I think, was a little bit easier. And I even say it with my content. Like I would preach Christianity before I started making the atheist content on my Facebook, and a lot of my friends and family thought that I was being called to become a priest. Like I could do it. Like I if I had spent the last 2 years making Christian content, I'd probably have significantly more subscribers and followers. Everything would be easier if I was still Christian, if I was still living that life, I just don't think it would be right. And I think that was the big determining factor.
Yeah. And we do have a special message in the comments there from Taylor. I love you. So
I love you too. That is my lovely wife. She guest stars in some of my live streams here and there.
Oh, okay, cool. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as like, you know, you deconstructing and everything, what do you think about some Christians out there? Well, not just Christians, just religious people. And you kind of already answered this, maybe, I guess, but what do you normally say to them if they act like it's just an easy thing for you to deconstruct, or like an easy thing to leave religion, or anything like that? Like, I know I get that sometimes, like, oh, it's easier to do this, that, or the other. But I mean, what do you generally say to people like that?
I kind of just give them bits and pieces of the, you know, spiel that I just gave you. And also just point to a lot of other people's stories. There's plenty of people out on the internet posting their stories, their struggles with Christianity, their struggles with deconstructing. Because deconstructing, to some people, I've heard some stories, some people have just walked away and it's just like flipping a switch and they're fine, and I'm jealous. To some of us, it is a whole process. One creator I really like described it as peeling back layers of an onion, and you don't even know what layers there are until you get to them. Like you don't even know that there's this thing that you need to deconstruct from until you get to it and realize that that thing is still an extra layer from your Christian days. So it's a whole process, especially someone who cares so deeply for Christianity, like I did. It's definitely a tough process. So yeah, just give them some of my stories, some of my spiel, some of the other content creators we see, just because factually speaking, it is a very difficult process for a lot of people.
Yeah. And looking back kind of on your time and you know, growing up as a Christian and a Catholic, what's like one, I guess, one theological concept that you really kind of regret, or anything like that? Like what's one, maybe not regret, sorry, that's the wrong way to phrase it. What is the biggest change, I guess, in your outlook on life and everything like that? What's the biggest change from you when you were a Christian to now?
Definitely learning how to love myself and accept myself is definitely the biggest one. Because, you know, as far as other people go, from a young age, I wasn't treated great. You know, like I said, it wasn't just the Christian aspect. So that put me in a very dark place emotionally. I walked out of my childhood with a lot of depression, anxiety, trauma, contemplated taking my own life so many times that it was just my natural state of it was just like wanting to leave. And so I just remember that darkness, and I remember the people that put me in that darkness. And I told myself at a young age, I don't want to make anybody else feel like this. I don't want to be the reason anybody feels like this. So I adjusted my morals and how I treated others, and how I accepted and loved others. Because I know when a lot of people leave Christianity, it's about how they treat others. So, you know, I'm not trying to sound selfish and like it's just all about me, but from a young age, I'd already figured that out. Like, I want to be that loving, caring person for others, be that person I didn't have. So that was already kind of set. The biggest thing, the person that I always still hated and always just never gave any mercy or anything towards, was myself. And I'm still working on that. And part of it was my family upbringing. Part of it was, you know, the Christian aspect, you know, not thinking the guilt that I mentioned earlier, not thinking I was good enough for God or whatever. So just that part. And when I was in my early 20s, I, you know, finally accepted myself as pansexual and non-binary. That was a huge step. Going from you're having these thoughts and there's something wrong with you, you know, Satan's attacking you, or, you know, you're not this manly man that the church wants you to be, to just, you're a person that exists you're fine. You're gonna be okay. And just working on that. And that's stuff that I still struggle with hard. I don't know if I'm ever fully going to step out of like that self-negativity, that self-doubt, all of that stuff. So yeah, that's definitely the biggest factor that I've had to work on.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I can totally empathize with you on all that too. A lot more so than normal whenever I interview people. So, uh, I've got like a set sort of like set list of questions that I normally ask in my head, and I'm just trying to get to the next one. So I'm wondering what if you could talk to like your past Christian self before deconstructing or before starting on that particular journey. What kind of advice would you give, your former Christian self?
Oh, I don't know if my former Christian self would want to look at me, if I'm going to be honest with you. I think a younger version of me would be horrified with what I have become. I've become, the epitome of what I thought satanic evil people were. But if he would listen, just breathe, try to relax, and listen more, read the Bible more. When I first started making this content a couple years ago, I hadn't even read through the entire Bible yet. 20 plus years, 25 years of Christianity, and I hadn't even read through the whole Bible. So it's like, learn about this stuff, listen to some of this stuff. And because I even find myself, I remember a lot from my religion classes, and I remember a lot of the messed up stuff, but there's so much more that I could have gotten. I feel like if I had my current mindset, I think I would have listened more intently, because I love listening to opposing ideas and opposing opinions. I think atheist me would happily sit through every single one of those religion classes just to hear what's going on. So I think those would be big ones.
Yeah. And then not normally another question that I ask is if you could give like one piece of advice to anybody that is currently deconstructing or newly deconstructed, what would you give them?
It's not a race. There's no like set goal that you have to be at a set time. Don't worry about how quickly these people deconstructed or where these people are at, or if you were like me and still had the belief in a God, knowing full well that it's nonsense and there's no reason to believe in it. It's fine. It's your own journey. You're taking it one step at a time. And whatever it's going to be, it doesn't even have to be a set end goal. You don't even have to end up being atheist or a theist or anything. It's just wherever it takes you, wherever you want to go with it. Give it that time and give it that patience.
Yeah, no, I think that's great advice there. And then I guess going back a little bit, because my mind goes like this sometimes. You said that you hadn't even read the Bible completely, but before deconstructing. I'm wondering what was the most shocking thing that you learned after reading, the Bible, either in its entirety or even partially, that you weren't like taught in your Catholic school?
The Bible, especially the Old Testament, is dripping in blood of genocide and slavery and the different misogyny, your rights that women have that men didn't. You can beat your child with a rod, you can beat your slave with a rod, that whole thing. The book of I think it's Joshua, where they enter into Canaan and just lay siege to it, just absolutely lay waste, men, women, children, whatever. Stories like Sodom and Gomorrah, like there isn't a single good person in this town. Really, the 1-year-olds need to die? They're evil sinners. Like that's, and then going up to the Gospels, Jesus saying, not one jot or tittle of the law should pass. Him casually using slavery in some of his parables, him being, by some interpretations, the unchanging God of the Old Testament. And then even in Acts, you have a couple that are struck down by God. for selling land and not giving all the money to the church and then lying about it. So it's just overall, and then you get the epistles still talking about slavery and misogyny and stuff. And it's just like, this isn't a good book. This isn't, I don't really know if there's any one thing that I could point to. It's just some of those big ones, especially the genocides. It's like, this is bad. This is not good.
Yeah. I mean, how do you think that your former Christian self would have interpreted that? Do you think that that would have been like a big eye opener for you, or do you think that you would have reconciled it in some kind of way?
I had read the weird thing is I'd read the entire Old Testament by that time. I think by the time I was out of high school, I'd read Genesis through the Gospels, and I stopped there for some reason. So I had, but I guess it's just like, no, it's this an all-loving God, and there's something about genocide, I don't know, and then like he did this, and he leads his children to freedom. The Egyptians are drowning, it's fine. He loves them. I just don't think I really looked at it. I really don't think I looked at it. I don't think I was very good at really seeing my faith. I was still trying to kind of make it up into this all-loving God.
Right. Yeah. And so now that you're an atheist, what would you consider to be the best, or rather worst argument for God's existence, or the Bible, like whatever, like religious argument in general? Like, what do you think is just the worst argument?
The one that frustrates me the most is what I call the God sticker. Because there's God of the gaps. We don't know how this works, therefore it's God. And that's how the creationism versus evolution debate went on for a while. As we get more evidence for evolution and it becomes more well-known and whatnot, now there are Christians saying, okay, there was evolution, but God did it. It's like, okay, yes, the sun was formed and then the planets were formed from the leftover bits of the sun, and it wasn't created like creation, but God did it. Because it's nothing. There's no argument even there. It's just, yeah, God. Yeah, God. God did it. God did it. If we know what it is, God did it. If we don't know what it is, God did it. And it's just, there's no thought that goes into it. And I think that's one of the more frustrating ones. Just like, let's think about this for a minute. Because, I always like to explain how God of the Gaps has failed us so many times. We used to think diseases and insect swarms and the sun rising and setting and natural disasters were divine or supernatural events. Now we understand that they're not. So it's like that mindset keeps failing us. We're running out of things to attribute that we don't know about to attribute to a God, which I guess we can now then just replace that with the God sticker. But it's just that. It's just, I don't know, therefore it has to be God, or especially just when people just don't give thoughts to these things.
Yeah, that makes me think of the Trump stickers, like I did it, kind of thing that they'll put on like gas stations or like grocery prices or something like that. But it's just theists, and they're just going around everything. God did it. God did it. God did it. God did it. So yeah, no, I think that's that's a really bad argument. What do you personally think is the best argument? Like, I guess refuting specifically the Christian God.
The best argument for refuting the Christian God would be looking at the Bible, because the Bible is supposed to be God's inspired word, and yet there's so much that is factually incorrect. The Genesis didn't happen. The global flood didn't happen. The Exodus didn't happen. We have no reason to believe in. People say, oh, the gospel is written by eyewitnesses. They weren't. It says 500 people saw him do this. Where are they? Where are they? Where's their testimonies that they writ down? It's just, the Bible just doesn't have too much to stand on. It's the classic thing. It's translations of copies of translations of oral things written down. I know there's the common theist or Christian argument of the Bible was written by so-and-so authors over so-and-so period of time in this many languages. And they usually go on to say, and it all tells one coherent story. I stop them before that and go, I can tell. I can tell that it was written by all this, because it's not one coherent storyline, and I can tell that there was patchwork done throughout it to try to make it, but it just doesn't work. So it doesn't have the Bible. I think at best is historical fiction. Apart from that, it really just doesn't have too much to stand on.
No, yeah, I totally agree about that. I guess, is there anything that we haven't covered that you were really hoping to sort of let people know about? Either about your past Christian history or your deconstruction or anything like that?
Not sure. I guess I could mention coming out as pansexual and how that kind of evolved over time, because obviously the teachings got a little bit stricter, from no, Tim, you can't have two dads, to Satan's talking to you, whispering in your ear, trying to take you away from God. My view on the LGBTQ plus community, mostly homosexual. I didn't really have much experience with the trans community until like early mid-20s, so that wasn't too much of a thought, but mostly with like homosexuality and stuff like that. By the time I got out of middle school, I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. By the time I got out of high school, I was advocating for LGBTQ plus individuals. And yet still, it wasn't until I was like probably around 21 or so, I was still having these episodes of, having, a thought about a cute guy, and it's like, oh, Satan's attacking me, and like praying, hard and trying to get him out of my head. I tried to pray the gay away, and trying to push him out of my head. That still stuck, even after all these years of realizing like it's fine and it's whatever. And I would never think that way about anyone else. But when it came to mine, those same rules still applied. And I just remember one day, it was the classic standing in front of the bathroom mirror, looking at yourself in the mirror. I was having one of these episodes, I guess you could call it. And it reached a point where it just kind of broke. I don't know how else to describe it other than the conditioning just kind of snapped. And I just look at myself in the mirror. I'm just like, what am I doing? Like, it's not demons. That's not how it works. The God I believe in is fine with gay people at this point. And so it was just having that, okay, I'm attracted to men. I'm also attracted to women. So I'm bi. And then when I realized more about what the gender spectrum was, came out as pan later on. And it's like, and that's fine. So it was just, it strikes me how that conditioning, that thoughtless, beyond any thought, reason, knowledge that I have, beliefs I have about the community, that conditioned response was still there years later. And then it took me like 3 days to work up the courage to tell my wife, because I was worried that she was going to think that I didn't like her anymore, wasn't into her or anything like that. She said it was fine. I scared her because we were driving home and I'm driving, and she could tell that the car gets quiet. And I'm like, hey, if I had something to tell you and I didn't know how you would feel about it, how should I go about doing that? And she's like, what is this man about to drop on me? Like, what? And she's like, tell me. And I'm just like, I think I'm bi. And she's like, oh, that's fine. I kind of figured. It was just like, it's whatever. She didn't even care. She thought I was going to drop something terrible on her. And it's also just funny going back to like some of my friends when they found out. My wife is like, does it really surprise you? And they're like, no, because I was a little bit more flamboyant. I always like to joke around in my what I call my gay voice or whatever. Some of my female friends described me as their straight gay best friend. Just a funny little thing. So coming out to my wife went great, She's been loving and supportive through this whole journey. She's awesome.
Yeah. So, and I don't mean to get too much into like your relationship with your wife or anything, but you know, what was she always an atheist too, or did y'all deconstruct together?
We kind of had our own journeys. She went to the same schools I did. She kind of still kind of on the fence about like if there's a God or if there's something else out there. She dropped Christianity well before I did, years before I did, and still put up with my, you know, Christian Facebook posts about preaching to God or whatever. Still loved me no matter what. But yeah, definitely still theist. I mean, when we first moved into this house, like 5 or 6 years ago, the first thing we did was put a cross up in every single room. She had a Bible by her bedside until even just a few years ago, because it was just something that always was a comfort to her growing up. So she definitely had her own journey. Wasn't too terribly connected. We crossed paths here and there. Wasn't too terribly connected to mine.
Okay. Yeah, she's in the comments right now. She said we literally almost got married in a church.
We almost got married in the church. I'm so happy we didn't. I've been to a couple Catholic weddings, and it's just the preacher makes it so much more about God than he does the couple. It's like there's the union with God and joining with God. Just like they're getting married. We can talk about them. Like, no, it's all about God. And there was just extra steps and whatnot. And I think even because I was still a Christian to some degree. And even then I was happy that we went with more secular route. We just rented a venue and got an officiator to do it.
Yeah, my wife and I, we got married in 2019, and we
Same.
just we got. Oh yeah, awesome. But we got married at the Botanical Garden here in Huntsville, Alabama, and it was really nice. I mean, it didn't really cost us anything hardly. We just walked in, we picked a spot out, and we got married. So, I mean, I definitely wouldn't want it any other way. But that's great to hear that y'all been able to work out what differences you do have, and y'all are able to make that work. Now, did you go through any like a lot of negative responses to you being pan?
Oh, plenty. Very few to my face. A lot of family and friends talking behind my back, and then other friends and family who were cool with me saying like, "Hey, this person said this," whatever. I got plenty of stuff. I got people saying that mine and Taylor's relationship wasn't going to last because I couldn't figure out who I wanted to sleep with. Not how pansexuality works. I had somebody say like, I'm just worried that he's going to get AIDS. It takes a few more steps usually than just coming out. And just little responses like that. And just like, I don't understand. It's weird or whatever. I even have a gay friend who I thought this was so cool. He is only attracted to one gender. He's only attracted to men. So him and the straight people in my life both had a common understanding of, what do you mean you're attracted to more than one gender? Like they were both ends. I could bring the two together for a common confusion of what's going on here.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess it really didn't. It seems like it didn't bother you too much, like the negative reactions from your family members.
It did, but it didn't. I'm used to getting some heat and some criticisms from my family members. Certain family and friends dealt with it all growing up, so it was just kind of more of the same stuff. It sucked, not happy about it, obviously. Had some laughs, about, how ridiculous some of them were. But yeah, definitely not great. And I remember making some Facebook posts here and there of like, hey, everyone, like, I'm still me. I'm still close friend. I'm still close with some of my friends and family who are still very much Catholic or some form of Christian. We get along just fine. We hang out, we talk about whatever else, like nothing has changed. So I tell some of these other family members, and even some of the family members who I do still kind of have relationships with, talk about me behind my back. And so I made a couple of posts of like, hey, you can ask me, you can talk. I'm not going to bite you. I know I'm like some kind of heathen, some kind of gay heathen now or whatever, but like, I'm not going to hurt you. It's still the same me that you grew up with.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. I'm not trying to speak ill of anybody who's here, but they might think that that's how you contract the pan, is by getting bitten by a pan person.
Who knows? Who knows? I love
works like vampires.
I love those one post about like somebody made a post. Oh, you're attracted to pans, and they're like, no, I'm actually really attracted to appliances. Like, don't leave me alone with your toaster oven because it's going to get wild. or like I would hop on, with being non-binary and stuff. I would hop on because people would say like, oh, you identify as an attack helicopter. I was like, I think toaster is better. Toasters make toast and waffles and stuff. I think they're generally better than attack helicopters. I would just hop on and just kind of joke with it. Bullying is something that never really hit me all too hard growing up. People would bully me and stuff, but I got a lot of it, so it's just kind of like normal. I'll have people join chat and whatnot and just throw insults at me, and I will just be completely unfazed. I don't know how healthy that is, but I usually just kind of go along with that stuff and just make jokes along with it.
No, yeah, I totally sympathize with that too, because I mean, I'm the exact same way. Now, like if it's some kind of criticism coming from somebody that's a lot closer to me, I might take it a little bit harder, but like random ass people wanting to throw shit my way, I really don't give a fuck.
Yeah. Definitely hurts more when it's like your close family members versus, this person who doesn't even have a profile name or a profile photo. It's just like user 837537372 with the blank person thing thinks that I look dumb. Cool. Yeah. It's all good.
Yeah. Well, so Drew, what are you doing now with like your platform and everything like that? I know that I see you making a lot of content on like TikTok and Instagram and everything like that. What are you doing over there?
It's a lot of basically atheist advocacy, engaging with arguments for the existence of a God, engaging with Christianity, common held Christian beliefs, pushing back against Christian nationalism here and there, advocating for LGBTQ plus people, for women's rights, abortion rights, humanism, advocating for secular humanism, more or less. And every now and then some cat videos is kind of what I got going on my platforms.
So how many cats do you have?
I have 3.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And I'm allergic to cats.
Oh, dang.
Because I don't really have too much of an explanation for that. I'm going to be honest.
Hey, you like cats? You like cats.
They're all right.
Yeah.
Two of them came with my wife. They were a package deal when we moved in together. She's like, fine. I liked them. And we didn't know how serious my allergy was until I had 2 years where I was stay at home during the pandemic. And for an entire year of that, I was just popping decongestants every day. Like I was just like dying until I finally got on some allergy medication. And then like months after we moved in here, she's like, I think I want another cat. And something possessed me to say, okay, so now we have another cat. And I love all 3 of them to death. But I might actually love them all to death one of these days. So we're rocking with it.
Yeah. I feel like I got the same kind of relationship with my wife. Before she can even tell me what she wants to do, I'm like, yes, I'm down for it. It's like, but I didn't tell you what. It doesn't matter. I'm down. Let's do it.
Let's go. Sure. Usually good ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. She usually has better ideas than I do.
Right.
But but anyways, so it's been great getting to know you, Drew. And I really hope that everybody will go and subscribe to you. Now, I haven't been able to actually pull up the description and everything on YouTube yet, to be able to add your links in there, but I will get those in there. Everybody should go and look up Drew Skaggs on Instagram, YouTube here. I know I shared this live stream out before we started going live. And I tagged your channel. As soon as YouTube like unfucks itself, I'm definitely going to get your links in the description. But before we head out, is there anything, I know I already asked you this once before, is there anything else that you want to let everybody know? Maybe you can shill yourself a little bit more.
I think we pretty much covered everything. If you want to come support me, you can. Again, not anything too much special, just kind of sitting here doing my thing, trying to do what I can to make the world a better place. Just kind of here. Any kind of support is appreciated, but is what it is.
Awesome. Well, definitely. I hope that everybody watching will go subscribe to you. You've got great content. I think you're doing a great job over there, and you're pretty consistent, which is important. So if people want consistently good content and great commentary, not only on atheism, but on the current socio-political landscape, definitely suggest they go and watch your content, support you over there, give you all the likes and shares and everything like that, because you definitely need to be seen by more people.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's right, of course I'm overcritical of myself. I'll never agree with praise.
Well, I mean, you should get used to it. But everybody definitely go subscribe to Drew. We will be I get a special video coming out tomorrow about BajaCon. I asked a whole bunch of atheists there a few questions, so you'll be able to see their answers tomorrow. There's also a special little singing portion that I did in the very middle of that, so that y'all can thank me now for that. And yeah, I know that that worried look is how everybody should be worried. But so everybody tune in tomorrow, and I guess we will see you heathens later. Don't forget to stand up, use your voice, and all that kind of good shit. Bye, heathens.
Bye.